masterpiece. You should be rolling me. You should be rolling me. You're a real life fantasy. You're a real life fantasy. But you're moving so carefully. Let's start living dangerously. Talk to me, baby. I'm rolling up from this sweet, sweet baby. Whoa. Let's lose our minds and go crazy, crazy. Keep on hoping we'll be cake by the ocean. Walk for me, baby. Walk for me now. I'll be pretty, you'll be Naomi. Whoa. Let's lose our minds and go crazy, crazy. Keep on hoping we'll be cake by the ocean. Keep on hoping we'll be cake by the ocean. Keep on hoping we'll be cake by the ocean. Hey, so delicious. Talk to me, girl. Talk to me, baby. I'm rolling up from this sweet, sweet baby. Whoa. Let's lose our minds and go crazy, crazy. Keep on hoping we'll be cake by the ocean. Walk for me, baby. I'll be pretty, you'll be Naomi. Whoa. Let's lose our minds and go crazy, crazy. That's right. Keep on hoping we'll be cake by the ocean.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Michael Korbacher, Director, Google Cloud, Germany, Austria and Switzerland.
Herzlich willkommen. Welcome to Munich's first Google Cloud Summit. The future of cloud is now. It is not a question of if, it's a question of when. And when is now. I have been a long-time believer in cloud technologies. I'd probably date that back to the late 90s. At that time, I was working for a company called Compaq Computers, and some of you might remember that brand, which was then acquired by Hewlett-Packard. At that time, I was privileged. I was based in the south of France, and my job was to launch what was called back then an ASP Competence Center. ASP stood for Application Service Providers, which was the early form of what we call software as a service, or a SaaS competence center today. And I was privileged because that place was located somewhere between Nice and Cannes, somewhere in the hills, in a place called Sophia Antipolis. And the French used to refer to Sophia Antipolis as the Silicon Valley of Europe. While I was doing that, launching this competence center, there were some smart people thousands of miles on the west in the real Silicon Valley, busy doing something else, because they were busy, Sergey Brin and Larry Page, launching Google. Now, I do not want to compare efforts, and I do not want to compare results, but I would say some of the ideas that we had around utility-based computing and server on demand back then probably made it somewhere into the cloud of today. For sure, what I have taken forward is the passion for cloud. And I'm quite sure it's this passion for cloud that has brought me here today. My name is Michael Korbacher, and I'm running Google's cloud business for Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Now, the time has not stood still, and Google has progressed, and we have progressed. And if we look at from what happened something like 19 years ago in a garage in the Silicon Valley, where people started pulling together infrastructure held together with Lego blocks, we're now looking at an infrastructure where we're running numerous services that have on a regular basis more than 1 billion users. Think about Gmail. Think about YouTube. Think about search. Think about maps. Think about Play, Android, and so on. What an infrastructure it takes. And all that based on an idea and a mission that I would call rather ambitious. A mission that said in a simple form, well, we're gonna take the internet, we're gonna index the internet, we let people search that index, and we give them relevant answers to their searches, no matter where they are on the planet, ideally within milliseconds. That was a big ambition when you think about it, to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. That's a very big ambition. When you think about how the internet evolved and how the internet grew, to make that happen, there was probably not a lot of off-the-shelf products that would make this mission come true. Think about it. What file system could actually manage that volume of data that you would create? What networking gear could actually handle all this bandwidth required? What product would I use to search this amount of unstructured data and give people replies within milliseconds? How do I scale? How do I scale out? And how do I improve my results using technologies like machine learning or artificial intelligence? So when looking at this to get to where we are today, one of the requirements was to drive constant innovation, to explore a path that nobody has gone before. And that led to the development of things like the Google file system. When we're talking about BigQuery, how do we search large amounts of unstructured data? When we think about developments such as Kubernetes, container-based technologies, how do we distribute workloads across servers, data centers, clouds? As well as making machine learning more accessible and artificial intelligence more accessible through frameworks like TensorFlow. Now, the great news is, in necessity of fulfilling our mission, we've created all this innovation and we've given it back to the open source community. And now, we're taking all this, the infrastructure that serves billions, and the tools that run Google, and we're making this available to companies in the form of Google Cloud. You might think, all right, that's great. I'm a manufacturer, I'm a retailer, I'm a logistics company, or I'm a bank. Why do I care? Well, you should care. Because if you are a traditional company, what has set you apart in the past, which might be, oh, I've got a big data center, and in that big data center, I run some really big enterprise IT, that might have been your competitive advantage in the past. For some of you, this might be a slight burden today. Because one of the key things that companies need to be aware of, and that maybe is your treasure, not your data center, but the data within that data center. And how do you exploit? How do you use? How do you make better decisions from that data within your data center? And that often requires the tools that are available in the public cloud. I don't think your sense of urgency is to take a workload from A to B and then save 20% on the way, or you name it. That does not necessarily imply a sense of urgency, especially if you think about companies doing quite well as an average across the region. Your sense of urgency is a different one. You want to be prepared for the future, and you want to be using the tools that your competition can use as well. And your competition might be somebody that you have not been dealing with in the past. That might be that startup company that takes their credit card, goes to the Google Cloud, registers on the portal, goes to the console, and within 90 seconds spawns up a 1,000-node Hadoop cluster. They use it for 10 minutes, and then it takes them 60 seconds to shut it down. That is your competition today. At the end of the month, they will find an invoice on their credit card statement for 12.5 minutes of usage of Google Cloud. This is the environment that we're in today, and this is your sense of urgency, whether you're a startup or whether you're an established company. You want to stay ahead of the competition. You want to do that with the latest tools available to you. You want to look at how you work together and be more collaborative. Increasing productivity is everybody's challenge. You want to be, at the end of the day, more agile, more reactive to changes in the business. Ideally, you want to be proactive, really. And all that, as you're dealing with security threats out there on the internet, you want to do all that ideally and be more safe. And this is where Google and the cloud can help. For us, this region, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, is one of the key regions on the planet. It's a center of innovation. It's the home of many multinational companies that have global influence. And this investment that we're making and this importance is reflected by the investments we're making. And one of the investments we've announced 3 months ago is local computing power, is our data region in Frankfurt, which has dramatically reduced the latency and opens up new opportunities for application development and application deployment within the region, and it helps companies to keep their applications and data close to their heart. We're completely committed to GDPR. Who's busy with GDPR at this point in time, the General Data Protection Regulation? Many. So are we, and we think this is a blessing. So we're taking what used to be a guidance from the European Union, which was then interpreted slightly differently from all the member states. And then if you look at the states within Germany, they might have had their own preferences. We're taking that into a general regulation which can help us and which will help us, and we're completely committed to this new regulation. Another important thing for Germany, which has an impact globally as well, is our partnership with SAP. We've got SAP here as well, so I'm glad to have them here. And it spawns 3 areas: engineering, how we work together to help the industry. It's running SAP's technology on our Google Cloud platform, as well as our partnership around compliance, where SAP helps our joint customers by monitoring services and making sure that they are delivered to the service delivery and quality as required. Cloud is used by many companies across the globe. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk about every logo here. You will know most of these logos, and you will probably think, gee, you know, some of those logos, they look rather conservative, some of those companies. I didn't know that they were looking at cloud. I can tell you they are. The cloud is real. The cloud is there. And the cloud wouldn't be real without our partners. Please make sure as you're here to step by the partners' booth and visit them, because they are the ones that take your opportunities, they take your requirements, and they make them solutions on our cloud platform. I'm very happy to announce one of our most prominent examples on stage, a retailer, one of the largest retailers in Germany, needless to say, one of the largest retailers on the planet. They serve businesses and they serve consumers, and they have a clear vision on how they help their customers in their digital transformation. Please welcome on stage the CIO and the Chief Solution Officer of Metro AG, Timo Salzsieder.
So, good morning, everyone. Happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation from Google. Michael already mentioned what we are doing, and just to give you a bit of an overview, you see on the slide here, because most of you should be familiar with metros. You know these blue boxes everywhere around the major cities in Germany. You might also know Real, which is one of our brands, but not a lot of people actually know how big we really are. So it's a 36 billion business globally. We are serving 35 countries, and our customers are mainly out of the B2B space. So we talk about hotels, restaurants, caterers, etc. And we serve them mostly with food, but also with non-food products. It's a global business, as I said. We have 150,000 employees worldwide. Within IT, we are 2,500 people with a large development unit. So we have subsidiaries in Romania, in India, in China, obviously in Germany. So Düsseldorf is our headquarters. And we just opened recently an office in Berlin also to attract talents in that area. And the funny story was in Berlin that we are on a campus with a couple of other startups there. And one of the guys approached us and asked, how's your funding doing? And actually, they did not obviously know that we are quite big. So, so we're doing well regarding our funding. So what are the challenges? And Michael just mentioned we have obviously the issue that we are pretty strong when it comes to offline business, so our stores are going really well. But as you know, the food sector is kind of slow compared to other areas like clothing, books, consumer electronics, etc. And therefore, we are moving also obviously into the digital space now. So the digital transformation, another buzzword used within our organization. So, and due to the fact that we have these global operations, we have obviously a couple of massive challenges. So scalability is for us critical because we are present in countries like India. And just imagine that we're running some campaigns on mobile devices, send out push messages, etc., which obviously means that millions of people will approach our services. So scalability is for us really important. The other issue is performance. Because we just need to make sure that our users getting excellent performance out of our applications. And security, you might have seen in the news that Metro had also some incidents regarding WannaCry in Russia and Ukraine. We handled it quite easily, but at the end we are obviously attractive for some of the hackers. Therefore, security is one of our top priorities. The other thing I just mentioned is the digital business. And you see here a couple of screenshots about our actually offering for the digital space or classical web shops. And we implement them basically completely on our own solutions. That means we're not using any external software. All of our offerings, whether it's back-end solutions or internal solutions and also web solutions, are implemented with our own people. And obviously, we have challenges like providing the service globally. You see a nice screenshot here of one of the apps we're running in China. On the bottom right, you see that's one of our flagship stores in France. We have these self-scanning devices, so these little devices on the left. And there's a kiosk system called heavy article kiosk on the right side. So, and you might wonder, why are we having a web shop within a store? So the name says it already, it's a heavy article kiosk. So if you want to order, for example, a beer barrel, which is quite heavy, you order it there directly, you go to the cashier, you identify yourself with a Metro card, and then there's a nice gentleman from our staff, and this gentleman is delivering the beer barrel directly to your car. So these kind of service we are offering in several stores. We are mainly driven, obviously, by innovation about the internal services. So you see logistics is one of the topics. The football fans in the room might identify one of our customers at the top right. So we are serving, obviously, this football club mostly with beer and currywurst, and sometimes actually also with champagne if they play against Dortmund mainly. And obviously also try to serve our customers when it comes to actually the touch point with their customers. So for example, within a restaurant, so we're providing technology and service there. And the most innovative part is on the bottom left. It's a self-checkout service. And just imagine you having a scanning device or it's a mobile app, you scan in the products, you put it into the basket, and then you drive this cart into this little device. It's a scale, so it weighs really what's in your cart. There are cameras on top of it. It takes roughly about 10 seconds, and we're doing this currently in Poland, 10 seconds, and you're good to go. No cashier, no payment, no credit card, it's in there. And that just gives you an impression how innovative we actually are doing. So what's this partnership with Google all about? And obviously we are very excited about this, otherwise I would not be here on stage. The scalability topic is one of the major issues. Coming back to the example I mentioned earlier, we're having these huge campaigns running in these big countries, and we're also serving countries like India and Pakistan, just to bring you an example. And therefore, scalability is a massive topic for us. We are very happy about the unmatched performance of the Google network because we serve, as I said, customers globally, and security is also very well covered by Google. And I know that Google had a pretty hard time with our legal people, with our governance people, and they did very well because at the end we managed to finally sign a contract with Google and are now able to roll out Google for our digital business worldwide. And we're using the Google Cloud platform to make sure that our customers get excellent service out of our platform. The other thing we're doing with Google is obviously engineering. As I said, we have a huge development community within our organization. This is actually one of the teams from us in Düsseldorf. And we're just exchanging with Google how methodology works. For example, design thinking is one of the major topics we're currently investing in. But we're also leveraging for our own applications the APIs provided by Google. So machine learning is relevant for us. We're doing a lot of natural language processing, voice recognition, image recognition. So we are pretty well on this route, and therefore using Google as a technology partner is really essential for us also to drive our own applications. So, and this is obviously also something that's relevant for us. So innovation drives us massively, and we now have obviously use cases like you see here on the screen, where we just provide to our customers services based on Google technology. So just imagine there's a chef, obviously dirty hands cannot type on computer or any tablet, so and we offer them services like based on Google Home, so that they can order Metro products directly out of the kitchen. So these are the kind of services we are providing. So very happy to be a partner of Google. Enjoy the collaboration very much, and yeah, thank you for your attention, and have a wonderful Google Cloud Summit today.
Thank you very much, Timo. We are very excited about this partnership as well, and we're very excited to be working with you on your vision. I think we've got to do something about that soccer club that just came to me. I don't think you've been serving a lot of champagne lately, you know. I think that for those, I think it's Cologne, right? For those not familiar, I think they're lost in the league right now, and they have a little bit of catching up to do, so maybe some initiative we have to think of there. I'm excited to announce a person next on the agenda who's from we call it the Office of the CTO, and that's part of the partnership that we have with our clients. Please let me welcome on stage Paul Strong.
Guten Morgen München, wie geht's? Gut? Fantastic. That's about the limit of my German these days. It's quite sad. I was actually brought up in a little village called Dönichheim on the Hanauer Landstraße. But unfortunately, I moved back to England when I was 7, and I had no one to speak German to. So now I have this accent. So firstly, welcome. I think right now we live in quite possibly one of the most exciting times that I can remember in terms of the evolution of technology and how it is intersecting with business and with life. I think we saw with the example of Metro, there is a real transformation taking place. This is not just about technology allowing you to do things faster, cheaper, and more reliably than you could before. This is not about incremental change. Absolutely, you can use technology to make it cheaper, faster, and more reliable. But technology today is being used to do things differently, fundamentally differently. And this is what digital transformation is all about. This is not about business as usual. This is not like about government as usual. This is about doing things differently. It's about thinking about things differently. Every company in this world becomes a technology business. It's about writing software. It's about getting intimacy and insight into your customers and the world around you. This is what the digital transformation is all about. And it's driven by a set of technology trends. Many of them have been evolving over many years, but they've all come together at this point in time to enable true transformation and change. If you think about cloud, for me, cloud is not a destination. Cloud is a vehicle that takes us on this digital transformation journey. Cloud, with the first time with cloud, you can get technology, and particularly the technology that doesn't differentiate you, as a commodity. In the past, you had to buy software. You had to buy the hardware to run it on. You had to buy the people to run the software and run the hardware. Now you can make it someone else's problem so that you can focus on what differentiates you, what makes you more competitive. This is what cloud allows. With mobility, you can now engage with anyone, anywhere. you can make good guesses as to what they're doing in their lives. You're getting intimacy, and from that intimacy, you can get insight and understanding so that you can deliver better services, whether that's monetizing ads or whether it's allowing people to do amazing things. You see governments who put applications on phones so that their customers, their citizens can take photographs of potholes in the road in Malaysia, and they automatically end up on a list of things to be done by the Ministry of Transport. Mobility is changing everything. Social is changing everything. The interaction model, the way people engage with each other, is shifting and changing. In some ways, we talk a lot about globalization and we think about it in terms of industry, but there's a globalization of friendships. My daughter, well, one of my 4 daughters, is 25. She's from England. She met friends online. She went partying with many of them, actually in Poland. And now she's moved to Australia, where a whole bunch of them live. But the way people talk to each other, the way people engage, the way people share information and trends are driven is fundamentally shifting and changing. IoT gives that same connection that you see with social and mobile, but not with people, but with machines. I'm connected. I'm a cyborg. Did you know that? I happen to be diabetic, and I have a constant flow glucometer plumbed into my arm. That allows my wife 5,000 miles away in the United States to know that I'm healthy. And I can monitor my 8-year-old daughter, who is also diabetic, and if my wife is asleep and my daughter goes low, I can give her a call and wake her up so that there isn't an emergency. This connectedness is allowing us to get more data and insight. And all of that, big data. The job of technologists is to turn that data into insight and understanding and then act on it, to be able to engage again back through the Internet of Things or with mobile. This intersection of all of these technologies is profoundly changing everything we do in life, and it says that every organization and every business today is a technology business. Your success will be defined by how you use and consume technology, and your failure or your epitaph on your gravestone will be how you didn't, if you don't take advantage of it. What we see happening with this technology is being used. It is being used to undermine the assumptions, the foundations that you build business models on. I'll give you a couple of examples. The first one is a fairly famous one. Most of you will be familiar with the stories of ride sharing and things like Uber and Lyft. What's interesting here is the story of how it came about. So taxis, it's an old established business, and there are certain barriers to entry to the marketplace. If you want to be a taxi driver, you have to learn your way around cities because driving with a map in your lap is kind of dangerous. And you kind of want to know that you can trust the taxi driver. So in London, they have a thing called the Knowledge, and you spend 3 years studying all the streets and the landmarks around London. And it's quite interesting, actually. So these taxi drivers, all this memorization and recall actually turns them into mutants. So it turns out that when you memorize things so much, it actually makes a part of your brain bigger, physically bigger. So the Darwin in me says that if we look at taxi drivers for long enough, they'll end up with these enormous heads, just like those aliens that you see in 1950s science fiction movies. But the point is that these businesses and the underlying assumptions were predicated on teaching drivers and validating them through licensing. Now, with a mobile device, it has GPS, it has voice, it has maps, it can tell you where to go. You can summon your ride, you can see where it is. You can give feedback at the end so that you get a better idea of the reputation of the driver than you ever could before. This is a fundamental shift. This is technology disrupting established businesses. If you think of the spare parts business and logistics, 3D printing means you don't need warehouses full of spares anymore. You can print them on demand with 3D printers and CNC machines at the edge. This disruption is coming to all of us, where technology is being used, and it says, is that assumption that your model is built on valid anymore in the face of technology? And when it isn't, then there's risk. Because the small and nimble, with nothing to lose, have access to the same technologies as the largest businesses in the world. And that is because of cloud. So when we think about the journey going forward, the question is, what does it look like? What are the steps? We put it down into 4 key areas. The first, optimize. Get out of the business of delivering IT that doesn't differentiate you and make it someone else's problem. Make it Google's problem. Because what doesn't differentiate you does differentiate us. So that you can focus on collaboration, driving teams to work together to be more productive and more effective. And through that collaboration, drive innovation. And then to accelerate your business, to be able to focus on the technology that enables insight and engagement, to actually drive new value, new services, and to take them to market. And then in doing all of that, you need the right partner. We believe we are that partner to help you take that digital transformation journey. Let's quickly talk about optimize and what's happening in that space. For us, Google Cloud is a full suite of products going from the low level of offering compute network and storage all the way up to collaboration suites like G Suite. When we talk to our customers, there's a set of drivers that we see, reliability, security, and so forth. It's the classic list that IT want out of infrastructure. Google, what doesn't differentiate you, you want to get as infrastructure as a service, I say, is infrastructure as a differentiator for us. We believe, and our businesses, all of those billion user businesses have driven us to deliver better infrastructure, more scalable. In fact, we build our own servers. If we sold servers, we'd probably be the world's 3rd or 4th largest server vendor, but we don't sell any. They're all built and customized for Google so that we can deliver services that are more reliable, that are faster, and cheaper than we could in any other way. And we were driven to do that by the growth of our own business, and the opportunity for you is to take advantage of that. It's also about managing things in a different way. With site reliability engineering, it's about taking us to a place when we build out infrastructure in this new world, we think differently about availability. It's all about resilience and reliability, and it's baking it into everything that we do. The apps in this new world assume the infrastructure breaks. So you have to build and design them differently, and you have to manage them differently. And we wrote the book on it, something we've shared with the world, and I encourage all of you to actually get the Site Reliability Engineering book and to have a read and learn how Google has figured out at least how to deliver at extreme scale and with great reliability. I always say one of the amazing things about Google that you can learn is we can afford to make the mistakes that you can't. We've been very lucky. We have a very successful business, and we've been able to experiment and learn the lessons that otherwise would be very expensive. In terms of delivering performance, we have something rather unique. Google actually has a navy. I bet you didn't know that, right? We actually have ships, and what those ships do is they lay cables under the ocean. One of our main differentiators is actually by having our own physical network with the fibers that we own ourselves going across the globe, we are in a position to make your applications perform and be more reliable than in any other infrastructure. You don't have to worry about talking with telco providers for WAN connections because we can give you very, very fat, fast, low latency pipes across the world so that when you build applications and run them on Google Cloud, they can talk to each other and get very, very low latency. And in fact, today, something like 40% of the total world's internet traffic goes across Google's own private network. This is pretty insane, by the way. When I joined Google, it was like insane engineering. Crazy numbers. We built a lot of our own networking kit. To allow our customers to take advantage of this, we also now have direct connection capabilities around the world so that you can place your servers so that they don't have the internet between them and your services that sit inside Google's cloud. And we've added a set of regions. We talked earlier about moving into Germany and Frankfurt, and we're moving into other areas around the world, expanding very, very fast. All of this is about giving you unrivaled performance and scale. In fact, our investment in delivering all of this is somewhere in the region of $30 billion in terms of a trailing 3-year CapEx investment. This is so that you don't have to make that investment. We invest in the infrastructure, scalable, resilient, so that you don't have to do it. And we can deliver it in a way that is very cost-effective and very green and very sustainable. We use technologies like machine learning and AI to actually drive down the energy consumption of our own data centers. Everything you see in the services we offer outside, we use inside to enable Google to scale and be reliable. And this is reflected in our performance numbers. You will generally see that Google is there or thereabouts in terms of providing the highest performing as well as extremely reliable and cost-effective services. Finally, I'd like to briefly talk about security, because ultimately what we hear from our customers is all of this is great, but without security, who really gives a darn about all of this, right? It's just table stakes. At Google, it's everything that we think about. Our entire stack is optimized for security. We customize, we build our own motherboards, we build our own chipsets, we build our own operating systems so they can be efficient, but also so that we can get rid of all of the unnecessary components so that people can't attack them and they can't be compromised. So we end up with a very, very secure stack. We even have our own silicon, our own chips that we put in our devices to allow us to understand their entire history. In doing all of this, that security also results in compliance. So with Google Cloud, when we satisfy some criteria in terms of compliance, for example, HIPAA in the United States or whatever, it doesn't apply to some subset of Google Cloud. It's all of Google Cloud. And so all of Google Cloud is essentially homogeneous. It looks the same. If it's qualified for some criteria, then all of it is. And as Michael said earlier, part of that compliance story is also around GDPR. And when it comes to the fore in March next year, we're working very hard, both with our customers and internally, to make sure all of us are ready. A couple of quick areas around security innovation. The first is identity-aware proxy. Now, why would you care about this? Well, Google's kind of interesting. When I work at Google, when I joined Google, we actually don't use VPNs to connect into Google infrastructure. We actually assume we have a zero trust model, and what we want is fine-grained access to our applications and services inside Google. So what we do is we actually do everything through a browser. It doesn't matter whether they're on Google's Wi-Fi or outside on the internet. And this actually uses a service called the Identity-Aware Proxy that allows us to get inside Google's infrastructure and to work with all the applications and services we need to, but with very fine-grained security. And this we now offer as a service for our customers. Secondly, another area of innovation is the data loss prevention API, which is really around focusing on managing data, making sure that only the right people can get at the right data, and getting rid of data, or getting it out of sight, for the people who shouldn't be at it. And so what I'd like to do now is to have a demonstration, and we'll talk about DLP. And to do that, please join me in welcoming to the stage Lee Boonstra.
Thank you, Paul. Yes, like Paul already mentioned, now with the GDPR coming next year, we certainly need to be aware of what's in our database, if it's sensitive data or personal data in our data sets. And as a developer, I'm always worried about that. So luckily, we now have the DLP API, Data Loss Prevention API, which can help you with that. And the way how it works is you pass in a text, and then as a second argument, you specify some fields where you want to scan for. And these fields can be passport number, credit card number, phone number. And then you can scan your data set, whether you connect it to your data pool as a batch or as a call in real time. And you get back like the data that is sensitive. And you can even flag it, you can even mask it. Now, to show that, I like to show you a demo. And I thought I'd like to create or take a kind of real life demo here, like say a chat application. And this is just a fictional company, right? It's called Acme Customer Support. And they sell anvils, you know, like these hammers that they sell in World of Warcraft or Skyrim. And what's happening here is, like, in the chat box, Angela, like, it's complaining that the product doesn't work, and the employee asks, like, okay, well, what is your contact number? And then here's the thing, this is always what customers do. When there is, like, an input field, they just enter everything they have. Like, oh, here, this is my phone number, this is my name, this is my last name, here's my credit card number, here's my passport. And then, at that moment, yeah, ooh, now that's in our data set, now that can be in our database. But luckily, we implemented the DLP API here. So what I'm doing here is when I end the chat, there it goes, you see it makes a call, and immediately it starts flagging the sensitive data out, so this data won't be stored. And this chat application is just a nice UI, but what you can see here is the actual call that's been made returns JSON, and that's what this is how the API looks like, and this is what you can implement. So that's kind of cool. Let's have another example here. And for this example, I like to make use of the camera that I have here on stage. And I took here a passport, a German passport, and a German bank card. And we're gonna make a picture of it, and I'll see if we in real time can mask the sensitive data. Now, in this demo, just to show you that it works with these field names, this array of fields that you pass in, I can show you the fields that we're, in this case, scanning for. So I'm looking here for credit card number, driving license numbers, faces, so pass photo. But also, specific for Germany, there is a passport field. And we have it for all kinds of countries. So, for example, for the Netherlands, we have a BSN number, which is what we put in a Dutch passport, right? So now let's make a picture and see what happens here. Well, there you go. Now, and before you guys think like, this is probably all scripted, I'd like to welcome Paul back on stage, and we can make a selfie here.
I like that.
Yes, I like that too.
A selfie. I like being redacted on selfies. So is this going to do it for you?
All right.
Hey!
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lee. So I think it's a very cool demo, but what it really shows is the value as we externalize sets of services and complicated technologies like machine learning, you are able to make use of those trivially and simply. Some of these applications and services you see built in the demos, they can be built very rapidly and very quickly, and you can get value out of them. And this security that we talked about, it's in depth in everything we do, from the client and Chrome and Android all the way through to GCP at the back end. What I'd like to do now, I think you've already heard from Metro, and I think it's great to hear the real stories of people's transformation. At this point, I'd like to welcome to stage another customer to share some time with you talking about how Google Cloud has helped them transform their organization and their business. And to do that, welcome to the stage from Deutsche Börse, Thomas Curran.
Thank you. So, hello, good morning. Deutsche Börse, probably none of you really know much about it, but I'll give you a few things. One is, if we had a Formula One of marketplaces, we'd be racing in it. We do about 200 million contracts a month in marketplace transactions. If we were a bank, we'd also be in the big boys. We have about 13.1 trillion assets under management. So we have the very fast stuff and the very big stuff. And in the middle, we have quite a lot of challenges dealing with a very complex set of businesses. Security was just mentioned. I think if anyone in the room can imagine themselves building an infrastructure that's more secure than Google, good luck. I'm a Google Cloud junkie, and one of the reasons is because I believe it's the most secure infrastructure you can buy anywhere. That's very important for our business because of the size, but it's also very important because security today is not a one-way street. It's something that you have to be able to count on over time. And if you go and talk to Google and look at their security infrastructure, you'll see why. The best minds, the best technology. Compliance, we obviously have a lot of rules in our business, and implementing those rules and doing it over time with a trusted partner is very important, but also we understand flexibility is also an issue. Over time, compliance changes because of new regulations and new things that happen in markets, new instruments, disasters, 2008. So compliance is a very big issue, and we need a partner to deal with that. And by the way, 2 years ago when I brought up Google Cloud, I think it's fair to say people laughed me out of the room because they thought Google doesn't understand this business, but they do. Google is not the only cloud provider that we use. The reason for that is we also need to have flexibility in the way we deliver services, and we develop software on multiple platforms. So Google gives us a lot of capabilities to move between those cloud platforms, and in particular, what's very important are some of the new things that were mentioned here, the compute platform, Kubernetes in particular. So we have these things that give us multi-cloud capabilities, and that's very important for our business. Why is that important? What are we doing? We're building a global platform. Deutsche Börse is in 27 countries across the world, mostly in Europe, but also in the United States and Asia. And to serve customers in those countries, we need a scalable and resilient platform to deliver our business services. On top of that, we're building new business that relies on a cloud infrastructure for real-time smart data and analytics. Those analytics are built on very new technologies that we deliver in the cloud, and we deliver them via an API platform and an ecosystem of trusted fintech companies that we've been able to sign up and work with, and it's a growing, and if you're in fintech, please talk to me about it. All of that is new, and as we already heard today multiple times, the world is being digital. Digitization is important, and in our business, developing new digital business models and delivering new digital products is very, very important to growing the business. Here's one example. It's very concrete. We have a big giant pipeline of real-time data coming out of our trading infrastructure. Again, 200 million contracts a month. Those are not just for derivatives, they're cash, they're foreign exchange, there's reference data. By the way, we run also the largest energy trading infrastructure in Europe. We use different technology standards. For instance, PubSub from Google, we use PCAP, which is a network standard. We use CSV, we use XML, we use JSON. We put all of those things in different formats into a data lake on Google Cloud Storage. That's very important because, again, in the past, flexibility was not a given. You had to structure information to store it in large infrastructures. Today, that's changed a lot. That's changed a lot because you have new technologies that let you then transform that information, big data, BigQuery, TensorFlow, machine learning. To operate in Google Cloud, we use a very great invention from Google, by the way, called Go language. If any of you have ever tried it, I suggest it. We use it because Google learned, as we learned, that managing large, complex infrastructures, you need to have speed and reliability. So we're building our bots in Go. We're building data marts then in Bigtable. And then we're providing those to customers via our digital business platform, which is, guess what, also written in Go and has APIs that then customers, partners, academia, people we never met before can now consume data from Deutsche Börse Group, in particular market data from this public data set based on BigQuery. We're doing all that because, again, it's not only I'm a Google Cloud junkie, we're doing it because we see a growing and emerging new kind of computing infrastructure that we believe will deliver better results, will deliver better security, and over time gives us the reliability we need to build a global infrastructure that will help our business grow. Thank you, Google, for having us.
Thank you so much, Thomas.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Really appreciate it, and we really appreciate your partnership. So this morning we've had customer examples, we've talked a lot about digital transformation, the stages of the journey, notion of optimize, get out of the business of the IT that doesn't differentiate you. Next, we're actually going to explore collaboration, he says, if the slide will come up. So optimize, get out of the business of delivering the IT that doesn't differentiate, and focus on what does differentiate. And then what you really need to do is to drive productivity and the environment that drives innovation. That's all about collaboration. And to spend some time talking to you about that and sharing where we're going at Google and how you can take advantage of our work, please welcome to the stage Bill Hippenmeyer. Thank you, sir.
Good morning. Great to be here. So you might ask yourself, where does collaboration fit into the power of the cloud? And we talk about AI, and we can talk about transformation services, infrastructure, capabilities, and all the things that are involved in being able to take workloads from your systems and your environment and take advantage of the leverage, the network that we provide and all those things. Why collaboration? Where does collaboration fit in? It is our belief at Google that collaboration is the beginning of this transformation process. If you think about it, transformation is the end result of a big idea. Where do big ideas come? They come from the creative juices and forces that are happening within your organization. Creativity is all about what? Creativity begins with engagement. Engagement is when 1, 2, 3, and more people gather together and they begin to synthesize new ideas. One person has a concept, a problem, a solution, some thoughts about something, but then that's immediately impacted by the people and organization around them. And ideas come from everywhere. They come from the top of the organization where we're doing strategy and thinking out forward. They come from the grassroots of the organization where in retail stores, in manufacturing plants, and across the business, people are coming up with new ideas, new approaches, and new ways to solve problems. That has to be facilitated with an infrastructure. In today's world, I'm going to state the obvious. You're going to say, Bill, we get it. Right? Things are moving faster. If you look at the innovation cycles in today's world, if you examine the product life cycle and the ability to bring new products to market, you no longer have 20 years to bring a new BMW to market. You no longer have 20 years to reconstruct new life science approaches or think about new transportation logistics solutions or to rethink digital communications across the globe. What you must do is you must shrink that life cycle. You must accelerate ideation, and the only way to do that, we believe, is to be equipped with a proper set of tools to do so. The Google suite that we have constructed and the tools that we would invite you to use are built around this ability to gather people together in real time to collaborate to come up with the big idea, which is going to lead to the transformation that you're looking to do. So we have a set of tools that allow you to create and to rise that level of creation instead of being an individual activity, but to make it a group activity where you're working in real time. We provide tools that allow you to connect in real time, exchange ideas, and be able to riff off each other and synthesize new thoughts in new areas. We do that with the ability to quickly search and access content in one place, held in Google Drive. And then, of course, we have to give you the control, the security, the compliance, the DLP capabilities to be able to protect that content so that you can be compliant with things like GDPR. And when you do it, there's an impact. PwC adopted the Google Apps or G Suite platform several years ago. They rolled it out worldwide, and they saw dramatic impact in terms of their productivity. If you think about the world that they live in, their consultants are working every day, both internally and externally, to be able to try to advise on financial issues, tax issues, and a variety of other consulting areas. What they have found is that by being able to reduce the amount of travel they have through Google Hangouts and being able to connect real time, through collaborative document editing and inviting both the customer and the suppliers that they're involved with into the conversation, they're finding that they're able to get to things done faster, and the ability to be able to connect in real time. Those things have led to real savings. In a study that they did, they came back and said that on average, they're saving 9 hours per week per employee, and they have a lot of employees. That's real numbers, and the financial people love the impact of that. But why can't we just use the tools we've been using for years to accomplish the same thing? Our argument and our platform says that the way of collaboration that our competitors are offering is really an old school style of methods. They haven't really changed fundamentally the way you work. In fact, I often talk to C-level executives that have adopted the competitor platform, and I ask them this one question. What are you doing different today now that you've adopted the latest from your competitor? And how has that transformed the way you work? And how has that accelerated your ideation platform? And in every case, they say, well, Bill, that's not what we were about. We wanted to eliminate the impact of change management on our organization. We didn't really want to change anything. We liked the way we were working. And I'm like, really, is that what you want to do? You want to just work the way you've been working for 20 years, where an individual creates a document or a spreadsheet or a presentation, and then they send it out in email as an attachment, as a way to collaborate and be able to exchange ideas? If you were going to come up with the top 10 vacation list ideas in a matter of minutes, would you get into a document and list the top 10 and then send it out to 10 of your colleagues and wait for them to reply? No, you would actively engage with them in real time, most likely in a conference room or in a Google Doc, and say, let's come up with the top 10 quickly. And when everybody is typing at the same time and they're all interacting in a collaborative way, what happens is you begin to raise the ideas quickly. You begin to collaborate and have visual inspection of what other people are doing. And now what you can do is you can avoid the need to replicate what Greg has put down. So Greg and I are collaborating. Tom and I are collaborating. Alexander and I are collaborating. And I can quickly see they don't like Cancun, Mexico. They prefer Nice or Malaga, Spain, to be able to do vacation. That's their preference. They're Europeans, and I don't have that experience. Now, I do live in London now, which has been a really eye-opening experience, and I'm really enjoying it. All right, and then the most important thing that I really love about the suite is the ability to connect in real time. The reality is that we don't have to wait for the Thursday afternoon meeting that's scheduled for 1 hour, because all meetings must go an hour. That's just the rule of meetings, right? That's not the case. When I can have an idea or inspiration, and I can literally reach out to Joe and Karen and say, can you join me on a hangout for 5 minutes and let's walk through this concept and this idea. And when I ping them and they come back to me and they say, yep, I'm available, and we get on a hangout, in 5 or 10 minutes, we can move the idea forward in a way that a meeting on Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock would not do. So the ability to instantaneously reach out, click of a button, and connect in real time is a powerful capability, and that's what we're doing. And then lastly, and you're going to hear a lot more about this, is the application of artificial intelligence to this environment. AI, in its simplest form, is really about observing patterns and then being able to recognize the outcomes that are associated with those patterns and then being able to do something that's predictive and being able to actually look it forward. I think of it like this. If I asked you to be a diving judge at the next Olympics, how qualified are you today? Probably not very well qualified. I'm not. But if you sat with an Olympic judge expert and watched 100 dives, you'd be a little bit better. What if you watched 1,000 dives, 10,000 dives, 100,000 dives, 1,000,000 dives? We are literally taking samples from 1 billion people that are simultaneously using our products, and we're able to look at what they're doing and predict what's next. And one of the great examples of that is expounded upon and explore in Sheets. If you regularly get a data set, maybe it's point of sale data, and you're trying to ask a simple question like, okay, Google, show me the highest profit product that was sold during the months of September, October, and November across the different states in Germany, and illustrate the raise to the top the most productive or the best margin product during that period. You don't want to have to write the formula that does that. But Google has been watching the way experts analyze data. And from thousands and millions of examples, we can actually predict what's next and offer some insight immediately when you open up. So all you have to do is hit the Explore button, and now I have a set of graphs and charts and pivots that are already available to me to be able to examine, and I can do that without having to do any work whatsoever. And then I can start to ask questions, and Google will actually write the formula for you. So we're doing a lot of work in AI, and that's only one example of many in terms of what we're doing to be able to apply artificial intelligence and machine learning to your work as you collaborate. So let's not just take my word for it, but what I'd like to do is invite a customer to come up and talk a little bit about what they're doing in the application of G Suite. So I'm happy to invite Alex Pullman from Viessmann to come and share his experience.
So yeah, welcome, good morning from my side. I'm really happy, proud to tell you that we have gone Google this year and we have gone G Suite. It's a digital transformation at Viessmann with G Suite. Viessmann is a traditional family-owned business, and we are producing heating boilers, cooling systems, and also some industrial systems. Our revenue is about 2.2 billion euros, and we have 12,000 employees all over the world. So we started our digital transformation in around 2015 because we saw their new business models came up, new competitors, also a company of Alphabet, Nest, I have also on my slides. They came up and they are attacking our core business and also our thoughts about new businesses. So what we have done, we spread out a strategy for our digital transformation, and there was a project called the Future Workplace. So the Future Workplace is more about, at the very beginning, it's more about evaluation of a platform solution. So we came from an IBM Notes infrastructure. We have run IBM Notes for at least 22 years. And yeah, you know, it is a big grown infrastructure. So our priorities also lay on the usability, because if you want to use your software and you also want your users to use your software, you have to get them on an easy software. Functionality was also an aspect. Also the IT security. All of you heard about the security layer of Google. This is maybe also one of the reasons why we choose Google, because we think it is the most secure platform for us to use. So the integration part and also the costs were also prioritized in the evaluation. At the end, we decided to move to G Suite, and we're really happy. We have now a workplace that is easily accessible on any device, at any place, at any time. But I mentioned our people should engage anytime, any place. They should easily get together. They should create ideas. We have now more flexibility, more security, more team collaboration, and also more transparency at the same costs. So our main achievements, like we have started the global rollout for G Suite this year in June, and we have an average 1,500 people each month coming to G Suite. We have migrated them. 15% of our users are using bring your own device services. Just imagine if like 1,200 people spend 10 minutes each day in their private life with their work environment. That are like 200 hours a day your company will save. 1.7 million emails doesn't need to be archived anymore. In IBM Notes, we had just 100 megabyte space left in your inbox. Now the storage is unlimited. It's great. So, and everyone uses two-factor authentication, so everyone can reach his work benefits from everywhere. And he just needs to get his smartphone out of his browser and say, yes, I am. So 4,500 Google Meets are done each month. So you've heard it's just 6 months ago we started the rollout, and it's pretty increasing, this number. Also, it's like 4,500. If you think for 4,500, if for one Google Meet of 100 is just a business trip you can save as your company, you will save around 45 to 50 business trips every month. And your people could engage everywhere at any time. So the last part is all about collaboration. We don't send any documents anymore. It's all like we share it and collaborate in one document and all this stuff. I really like it, and I really would like to thank all of my team colleagues and also our partner CloudVolic for the great support we had during the migration. But I'm pretty sure that this is just the beginning of a big change at our future workplace. And I'm really looking forward to all the new cool stuff that will come from Google in the future. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Alex, for sharing. Really appreciate that. So we've talked about Optimize, about leveraging the power of Google infrastructure, network, and data center services. Hopefully you've got some insight into why collaboration is so important to us. What I'd like to do next is take you to the next level, which is accelerate. In acceleration, it's really about learning and growing and harnessing the power of big data, machine learning, and technologies like that that will really help you be able to move faster and to move better. So with that, I'd like to introduce my friend and colleague, Greg DeMichillie, who's going to talk a little bit about Accelerate.
Thanks, everyone. I'm really excited to talk about this section of the talk because, as Paul said, going into cloud to just shift a little bit of CapEx to OpEx or save 5 or 10% really misses the opportunity that it provides you. The opportunity to not just save money, not just to affect your cost side of the business, but to drive new business. And the best way to think about that is to think about it in terms of how do you get value out of data? Think about it. As companies, we have become digital pack rats. We store ever-increasing amounts of data. By some estimates, we'll have 163 zettabytes of data per year by 2025. I had to Google what a zettabyte is, by the way. Just in case you don't know, I believe it's 1 trillion gigabytes. And why is it that we're doing that? The cloud has made it possible. To store a petabyte of data 10 years ago, you had to get a robotic tape archive. You had to spend millions of dollars on special machinery. Now, for a penny a gigabyte a month, you can store every bit of data from your factory or your business or your retail operation. So the problem is shifted from how do I store that data to how do I find the needle of value in that haystack of data. Now, the way this works for most of us today is big data, right? That's the answer, big data. And we know something about that at Google because most of what is in big data today dates to research papers that Google published 10 years ago. Big data is built on a foundation of work that we did within Google. And we went through this pattern, which is we build these big data systems, we run them in production, the data grows by a factor of 10, we have to re-architect the storage system. And the result is if you look at most big data projects within enterprises today, they're not achieving the results that they promised. And why is it? It's because if you look at where you actually spend your dollars and your time, it's not on getting insights. You spend way too much time on building maintenance, logging, backup, disaster recovery. Oh no, the data's 10 times as big, let me rebuild my sharding system. Nobody enjoys doing that, yet we do it time and time again. You spend too much time taking care of the machinery and not enough time actually understanding the data. And again, we know this is the case because we went through this at Google. We went through this exact same pattern. We built data systems. We thought they were great. The data got too big. We had to rebuild them, and we realized we had to have a better way. We had to have a different way to think about big data. So we set about building out an entirely new set of data and analytics products around the simple idea of reversing this ratio, of inverting the amount of time you spent taking care of the system and the amount of time you actually spent getting insights. So across our entire data portfolio, you will see products built natively for the cloud where all of the work of scaling and infrastructure and management and even DBA is taken care of for you. And we've also gone one step further because we also realized at Google that traditional batch analytics aren't good enough. The days when you could have a weekly report of your business and call that acceptable, if you're a retailer, you want to know what's happening today, not what happened 2 weeks ago. If you're a manufacturer, you want to know that you're having production problems today, not on a quarterly report when it's too late to do anything about it. So we built our systems around the notion that batch and streaming are the same thing, that it should be as easy to get real-time insights as it is to get a daily or weekly or quarterly business report. And so when you look across our entire data portfolio, whether it's BigQuery, which is a data and analytics warehouse in the cloud, literally upload a petabyte of data, write a SQL query, done. No DBA, no sharding, nothing to set up. Or Dataproc, which lets you take your existing Hadoop clusters, bring them in the cloud, and get out of the business of managing the Hadoop infrastructure. Or PubSub and Dataflow, which you heard about from our customers, using that to transform the way you ingest data in real time. What all these products have in common is they get you out of the drudgery of maintaining the machinery, and they let you focus on the fun part. I know of no data analytics professional who got into it because they like writing sharding systems. Do what's the fun part, the understanding the analytics of data. And we see this having an impact on customers. Spotify, when they joined Google, if you talk to their execs, they will tell you the number one reason that they wanted to use Google was to give them a competitive advantage in data. Think about it. Every time you skip a song or you play a song or you search for a song in Spotify, that's data that helps them predict that next perfect music for you. Or in the banking industry, Lloyd's, where they say they literally went from 96 hours to 30 minutes in terms of their ability to go from an event happening in the market to them being able to make a decision based on that. Now, what's the next step of this? Sure, we can build data warehouses. You've heard mentioned several times this notion of machine learning and artificial intelligence. And we really think that is the next step. It's the next evolution in how you do data and analytics. And to prove just how much we believe in it, our CEO, Sundar Pichai, has said that this is a core transformative way where we're rethinking everything we're doing. And that is literally true at Google. There is not a project or a product inside Google that isn't being rethought in terms of machine learning and artificial intelligence. If you think about the consumer side, every way that you interact with Google now has an AI or machine learning component. Whether it's your Android smartphone and the way it does speech recognition or autocorrection. Or how many of you have used Google Photos and typed birthday party clown and found a picture from 3 years ago of your child's birthday party when you had a clown come in. Or when you've used Gmail, as Bill talked about, where you've had an automatic reply generated. All of these are built on the notion of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now, it's reasonable to ask, why? I mean, Google has smart programmers. Couldn't we have just done this ourselves without using ML? And I think it's important to think about why ML is so transformative. ML lets us solve problems that we don't know how to solve. Think about when you learned your first language. Unless you have fairly unusual parents, I don't think they handed you a grammar book and a dictionary. But that's what we do as programmers. We teach our computers with grammar books and dictionaries. You learned your first language by being exposed to it, by example. Your family had a dog. Your parents said dog. You saw the dog. Literally, the chemistry in your brain changed, and you learned that that animal was a dog. ML allows us to take that same technique, learn by example, not by rote, and apply it to business problems. Think about your factories, your customer data, your sales data, where there's hidden value and connections in your data that you're not taking advantage of. ML and AI lets us do that. So we've built a complete platform around AI and ML. At the bottom is all that same infrastructure that you heard about earlier, the network, the compute, the storage, because at the end of the day, ML is a real big data and compute problem. On top of that, we build platforms, libraries, and tools that let you take your business data and train your own models without having to worry about how to scale them or how to deploy them or how to manage them. And at the top, we've taken those very same services that we offer consumers, services that help build systems that see, hear, speak, listen. And we've given those to you via APIs. So you don't even have to be able to spell ML in order to build systems that can see, hear, speak. And that lets you match the tool for the job. If you are an ML researcher and you want to be on the cutting edge of defining how machine learning works, you can use our open source SDK TensorFlow. If you're a data scientist in your company, you can use Cloud ML Engine to build and train models using TensorFlow, but without having to get into the details of how you build and scale the infrastructure. And if you're an application developer, you can use a simple API to build vision, speech, text, hearing directly into your applications. To give you an example of that, I want to show you an example of using those perception, those vision APIs inside a real application. So to do that, I'm going to have Lee come back up, and she's going to show you an application that actually knows how to see, hear, and speak. Lee?
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Greg. I'm actually very excited to show the Vision API to you because, I'm not a data scientist. I'm an app developer. So I can still play around with machine learning, and I don't need to train my own models. No, it's pre-trained. It's pre-trained by Google, so I can just use it. I can just make an API call, and I pass in an image. Usually, you'll upload an image in a cloud storage bucket, and then I make a Vision API call, and the Vision API can detect the photo, and it can see landmarks, it can see persons, it can see objects. It gives you all that information back. OCR detection. It's very nice. So that is something I like to show you today. I created over the weekend a simple app where I uploaded 2 pictures here. I uploaded a photo of a landmark and a photo of a person. So let's have a look into the landmark picture first. Now, I saw for this presentation today, my coworkers, they made this photo, and they say it's Munich. But yeah, I was actually wondering, is this indeed Munich, or did they just take a normal picture from another beautiful European city and put that in the slide deck? So what I did is I made a screenshot of it, and I uploaded it into a bucket, and then I checked it with the Vision API. The Vision API first gives me back like color information. Okay, that can be handy if you're a designer and maybe you want to dynamically build your page. You have a dark background and you don't want to have a dark photo on it, so color information could be handy. But it also recognized it is indeed a landmark. It recognized this is a city. It gave me back a latitude and a longitude coordinate. And with that, I can plot it on a Google map. So that is what I did. And yes, it's indeed Munich. And to be very precisely, it's actually in the Marienplatz, if I pronounce it correctly. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of impressive. I thought that's cool. What else? It did recognize some labels of what it did see. And yeah, and I translated it. It's in English, but I connected it to the Translate API, so that I get the labels now back in German. And it tells me, yeah, it's a tower. It's a metropole. I'm 86% sure it's that. That's the confidence level. The confidence level says that I'm 85% sure it's a city. So yeah, that's probably correct. And it also has the OCR detection, so it detected like the welcome in Munich. Okay. Now let's do the same example again, but with a person. And I picked a Dutch guy, but you guys might know him as well, right? Yeah. I thought this was pretty impressive that the Vision API did, because the labels that it gave me back, it actually recognized this is a soccer player. It's 83% sure this is a soccer player. And I thought that's pretty impressive, because I don't see any soccer balls or no footballs here on this picture. I just see some green grass, but that could be any other sport as well. So like the Vision API did understand, like, yeah, that's a soccer player. It's definitely a player, has something to do with sport. I see grass, I see team sport. So that's cool. But what the Vision API did not do is it did not have facial recognition. It did not tell me who this person actually is. But we're Google, right? And we know what other pages on the internet make use of this photo. And based on that, we can also get some entities. And here it says it's actually Arjen Robben, and he's from the Bayern Munich team. And this picture was made in the Wembley Stadium, and it has something to do with the European Cup. That's pretty cool. Now, obviously, this is like just a simple demo, right? But you can imagine that when you want to use this in a real-life use case, let's say you have a hotel website, and you paid your photographer to make pictures of these hotel rooms. You don't want other hotel websites to steal your pictures, right? So you could use the Vision API, for example, to detect what other websites are making use of your pictures. Another example could be in real estate, where you make a photo of a house, and it immediately sends you to the website of the house listing and says, like, yeah, this house is for sale. Our customers are doing that. Or maybe in finance, you have like lots of documents with a lot of text in there. It can be handwritten text, can be typed text. And we use the OCR detection to get out all the text out of the documents. So there are lots and lots of examples here. This is why I'm so excited about it. Oh, I hand it back to Greg. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. It was really great to see so many different APIs brought together in one simple-to-use application. Now, that's what we're building at Google. I think it's really useful to hear what customers are doing with it, with ML and AI. And so I'm really pleased to bring on stage a customer who knows something about machine learning and how to turn it into business value. She's the co-founder of one of Europe's most exciting new startups, dealing with customers as interesting as Porsche. And she did all this while building out her bachelor's degree in e-commerce. Please join me giving a warm welcome to Michelle Skodowski from BOTfriends. Michelle.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So I'd like to start with a little story. There are many companies out there that people crave to work for. And I believe that Porsche is maybe one among these. As generations Y and Z are becoming older and ready to enter business world, it becomes more and more natural to them to inform themselves about career opportunities not only via website or email, but simply on social media, such as writing Facebook Messenger. All right, so that's the Jobs and Career Facebook Messenger. And what we can see here is that someone is asking questions regarding internships at Porsche. All right, after checking the requirements, he unfortunately sees that he doesn't really fit them, but however, he asks for more details on dual studies. All right, he gets led to an integrated web view, and he can check on all the offers on dual studies. So that is really, really easy. He instantly receives all the answers he wants. So the special thing here is that there's actually no real employee writing back. But this cute robot here on the right, and it's a chatbot. And he's the first chatbot in the automotive industry, instantly answering questions regarding job offers, internships, dual studies, etc., by using Google's natural language processing service, Dialogflow. And just last week, we've been nominated, or no, actually we won the Human Resources Excellence Award in HR Tech and Data with this product. So what we do, thank you. Thank you very much. So what we do at BOTfriends is we create conversations over messaging platforms, but also voice assistants with the help of artificial intelligence. So our goals are to meet higher customer expectations on 24/7 availability and also to establish messaging platforms as a new way of communication. Since we spend 90% of our time on email and messaging platforms, and since the time we spend there has actually surpassed the time we spend on social media, and we know that Facebook Messenger has reached over 1.3 billion users, so that's quite impressive. But now, why did we choose the Google Cloud Platform to develop such an innovative product? So obviously, one of the first reasons is, we already talked about this today, the Google Cloud Platform is super secure, and for companies such as Porsche, this is really, really crucial. We're also using all the amazing natural language APIs provided by Google, such as the Translation API. For companies such as Porsche, it is important to reach all their potential applicants because we know that people with different backgrounds, cultures, perspectives are definitely contributing to the company's success and we can enable conversations with everyone regardless of language and origin. We are also able to run A/B/N tests on the app engine, which is so crucial for our MVP approach. So by distributing the traffic on different chatbots, we can see which one is performing the best and which one is the one we should actually further develop. And most importantly, we are able to scale up automatically with the app flexible environment. So the chatbot can handle endless conversations at the same time, and our developers are able to focus on what they do the best, write the code, instead of being busy balancing the load. All right, so after we launched that product, we've seen amazing results. The great service Porsche provided has led to an increased engagement by over 100% and a reduced workload by over 25%. So employees at Porsche were actually able to focus on more complex requests. After the launch, we are planning to use the PostgreSQL database to enable creating user profiles so we can offer subscriptions to job vacancies. So Porsche fans will always stay up to date whenever their dream job comes up. And last but not least, we want to use a sentiment analysis API by Google to enable human handovers. So whenever a conversation escalates, let's say the customer is not happy with the chatbot or the conversation is unsatisfied, we can just easily direct them to a real employee to escalate the conversation. The last thing I have to say, if you want to hire the best people, provide them with a great service. And with the Google Cloud Platform, we've been able to develop such an innovative product. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thanks so much, Michelle. Thank you so much. That's just such a great example, again, of tying together all these machine learning capabilities in a way that really makes a difference. So that's really just a snapshot of what we try to do to help you accelerate your business. I could have talked about application development or so many different ways, but I really do think at the end of the day, we can help you get more value out of what really is the most valuable thing you have. As someone said earlier, it's the data in your data center that matters, not the data center itself. And so we really think that we can help you by building out a set of products to let you find value out of that data. So now I want to turn over to the next section of today, which is to talk about how you build a partnership relationship. Building a relationship with a cloud provider isn't just a short-term relationship, it's a long-term one, and you want to have somebody who's in there with you every step of the way. So to talk about partnership and the role that we think we can play in that, please welcome Tom Gray from Google to talk about that.
Thank you, Greg. And thank you all for coming. I'm really, really excited to be here. I think this is an extremely exciting time. And I'm here to talk to you a little bit about partnership. We believe that customers are looking for something new. They're looking for new technologies. They're looking for new business platforms, new business models. They're looking for a new place to do new things. But they're also looking for a new partner with a new approach. Over the course of this presentation, we've looked at the different aspects of digital transformation. We've talked about how you optimize your business. We've talked about how you divest the parts of the IT organization and technologies that aren't differentiating to you. We've talked about how you collaborate. We've talked about how you use collaboration to accelerate and to drive innovation in your organization. And we've talked about how you use data, and you can use data to differentiate your business. At Google, we believe we have one of the foremost platforms to allow you to do those things. We believe that it's at the cutting edge in terms of capability, in terms of reliability, in terms of security. But we also believe that that is not enough. We believe that to be successful, you also need a partner that understands the journey, but also a partner that understands the destination. At Google, I'm proud that we have 18 years of innovation behind us, and I'm confident that we have many more ahead of us. In that time, we've had a chance to build some of the leading platforms for mail, some of the leading platforms for search, for mobile. Heck, we've even got to build self-driving cars. We've had the chance to try some things that really many people only dream of. And we've also had the chance to, frankly, make some mistakes that really few could afford to make. And that's what we want to bring to this partnership. We want to bring and we want to share that learning, we want to share that experience. At Google, we have a saying, focus on the user and all else will follow. We want to build a platform that focuses on you. We want to build a platform that's flexible, a platform that's open. We want to build a platform that has easy to understand customer-friendly billing. We want to build a platform that enables you to build and to run the applications you want to run, but also the applications that you need to run. We want to put you in control of your IT. To give you some examples of how we're doing that, I want to talk about our sustained usage billing. So our sustained usage discounts is a scheme whereby the more you use of our cloud, the less we charge you per unit. We want to make billing simple. And so with sustained usage discounts, those discounts are applied automatically. You don't have to do anything. You just use the cloud, and we automatically work out what you should be discounted, and we apply that discount on your behalf without you needing to lift a finger. We also want to make it flexible. So we offer that sustained usage discount without any kind of commitment up front on your part whatsoever. So it's a simple, it's a flexible, it's a customer-centric model for billing, we feel. We're also extremely committed to openness and to open standards. Google as a company was born on the internet, and the internet was born of open standards, and it's thrived as a result. We are deeply, deeply committed to openness, and we're deeply committed to allowing you to avoid vendor lock-in. Vendor lock-in kills innovation. Vendor lock-in kills innovation because it doesn't allow the best technologies to win. And lastly, people. As I said before, we have some amazing people in Google, and some amazing people that really had the chance to build some really amazing things. And we want to bring these people to you. We want you to work together with these people to build the next generation of crazy cool stuff on the internet. And you might say, that's great. Crazy, cool, I love it. That's kind of cool, that's great. But come on, Tom, what about everything else? We understand we need to run that as well. We need to make it easy to bring new stuff, but we also need to make it easy for you to bring your existing applications and your existing investments onto our cloud as well. Globally, CIOs are moving to the cloud to save money, but they're coming and they're finding better security, better reliability, better flexibility. We need to make it easy for you to bring those applications to our cloud. But we also want to make sure that when you bring those applications to the cloud, we also make it easy for you to migrate and to also take advantage of the new services that you find there. Services like the DLP, the Data Loss Prevention API. Services like Cloud Spanner. We want to enable you to migrate and then to modernize. And we know that we need to invest in the people and the processes and the tools to allow you to do that. And one example of that is our support for Windows. I hope here everybody would accept and agree that our platform is an amazing place to run Linux. It's an amazing place to run open source workloads. But there's also a lot of Windows out there, right? We need to enable people to run that as well. So we've made investments in things like supporting images for Windows Server, many different flavors of Windows Server, many different flavors of SQL Server as standard images. We support hosting Active Directory so that you can extend your on-premise Active Directory domain controller into the cloud. For Windows developers, we want you to be able to use the same familiar, powerful tools that you're used to using. So we now support Visual Studio. You can develop your applications in Visual Studio, and you can easily deploy them to our cloud. The Cloud SDK supports over 100 different commandlets for the Windows PowerShell to enable to use the tools that you're familiar with to work in our environment. And one of the areas we've made the biggest investment is in people. We know we need to bring people to this partnership to help you to be successful. People like our customer engineering and our solution architecture teams. Experts who can work with you to build and to design and architect your applications to get the best out of our cloud. People like the amazing engineers who sit in our support organization. First-class Google engineers who enjoy deep relationships with our software engineering and our site reliability engineering teams, so that when things go wrong, and things will occasionally go wrong, we can get you up and running as fast as we possibly can. People like our office, the CTO, seasoned industry professionals with deep technical expertise and a background in different verticals who can work with customers who are doing some of the largest, most audacious migrations to the cloud. Migrations where deep technical expertise and domain expertise are vital to be successful. People like our customer reliability engineers, taking the lessons we've learned with site reliability engineering, running those 1 billion user applications, keeping those up and running on the internet. People who can work with you to bring the same level of resilience and security to your applications. so that you can build applications that stay secure, that stay scalable, that stay available under the most extreme of conditions. And lastly, open source. We have a lot of experience with open source, and we can leverage that experience to help you with your open source packages, be that on our cloud or be that on-premise. So to finish, I just wanted to talk through an example of this. And a great example of this is Conrad. Conrad's a 90-year-old family-owned company. And about 20 years ago, they made a very smart investment. And they started to invest in e-commerce. And today, Conrad is one of the leading electronics suppliers, both in physical stores, but also on the internet. They're now working with Google to move more and more of those systems into our cloud. Their IoT platform runs on Google's cloud and integrates with Google Assist. They have moved 5,000 of their employees to our G Suite platform to allow them to better collaborate, to allow them to be empowered. And they've saved 90% of the paperwork in the process, which is pretty cool. But lastly, and most importantly of all, they're working in collaboration with us to explore new business models, to explore new possibilities, and to test out the bleeding edge of what we're making available. And I would urge you to go and check out their booth. They have a very cool booth downstairs, so go say hi to the folks from Conrad and hear a little bit more about their IoT platform. So, in that, I hope I've given you a bit of a flavor of how we're working in partnership with you, how we believe in openness, how we believe in bringing people and bringing our expertise. I think it's an extremely exciting time to be a technologist. I'm excited. I hope you're all excited too. And with that, I'm going to hand back to Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Yeah, so we spent the last hour and a half on talking about four very important subjects on your journey in making the digital move. Optimize, focus on the things that differentiate you. Get rid of some of the things that you shouldn't do. Collaborate. I think that's pretty obvious. We want to make sure we get more productive, work better together, engage and innovate, and look at the things of the future, accelerate. Look at things like complex data analytics, machine learning, and AI, and do that with a partner that cares. The future of the cloud is now. It's not if, it's when, and when is now. I want to leave you with an overview of what you can experience this afternoon. So there are going to be many sessions and 4 different tracks, and you're ready to choose. There will be plenty of booths outside from our partners, as well as a startup booth out there, as well as a booth that says Ask an Architect, where you'll meet with some of our technical experts and you can talk through architectures. Some of you have already started. I've been curious to share experience on the hashtag Google Summit Munich. And I want to leave you with a little assignment for the afternoon. Take one of the opportunities you have in mind, one of the business opportunities you have in mind, and take this opportunity with you into the sessions that you'll follow this afternoon. And think about how does this session and what I'm hearing, how does that apply to my opportunity? And make sure you walk out of here today with something that you're going to do different tomorrow that is going to help you in fulfilling this idea. That said, I release you into the afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you again at our cocktail reception at 6:15. Thank you.